Hi everybody. I wasn't going to make a part 2 video comparing the Visconti Sforza by Monumenta Longobardica and by Il Meneghello. However, after speaking to some people after posting the first video, and when I say some people, I meant Patrick, I realized that there might be some value for us to continue to compare the rest of the major arcana between these two editions, because apparently my Il Meneghello edition here, although the booklet says 1996, is actually a much newer edition. Now, I lament the fact that we can't find dated, a properly dated pack of cards for the Il Meneghello. It made me feel very uneasy that we can't date a particular edition. Because in past Il Meneghello decks, I noticed that the edition is tracked quite diligently. So it says 1996 edition 1, and then this particular reproduction is edition 2 and was issued, say, in, I don't know, 2006 or whatever. In a separate video that I will talk about this particular edition, my particular deck came with a box that was dated 2016. That is not to say the deck itself was printed or produced in 2016. I really can't say. All I can say is that Patrick have cited both editions, 1996 and a more recent one that he purchased together with Artsy for Kelly, and he compared it to his 96 edition, and the cardstock's different. And he mentioned one particular card, the Lovers, and I've compared the Lovers card, and the old Il Meneghello 96 edition is very much described by Patrick like the Monumenta Longobardica's edition from 1974. And also another note, these two are about 40 years apart. 2016, give or take several years. This one is 1974. So you notice I have two, and I will discuss these two in a separate video and this one in a separate video. Before you roll your eyes at me, because I have several copies of the same deck by the same publisher, it's important to establish provenance with decks like this, because the box and the booklet, there's no way of telling whether the box and the booklet is original to the deck. The only way for you to discover if the deck that you're buying is the deck that you want is to really get to know the cards themselves. And so this is what this kind of video is for. And let me grab this. On a side note, I used to be an antique dealer. I kind of still am in a way. I have an online antique shop called Blue Ginger Antique and Collectibles on Trocadero.com. If you want to visit me there, or if you're looking for a particular antique collectibles or vintage items, or if you want my opinion on something, please do let me know. My area of specialty is Southeast Asian textiles and silver, as well as Victorian book chain, silver necklace and lockets. So this is the Monumenta Longobardica from 1974, according to the booklet and according to the packaging and according to the features of the cards and the cardstocks, from what I gathered from various informations from various people online. I will link all of them below. So let's take a look at the Il Meneghello's edition, and we will compare all of the cards. Note that the Tower and the Devil are currently not in existence, so I'll put that aside. So let's start with let's start with the Magician, because we've done the Fool in our last video. I'm sorry I haven't put this in order, because so the right is Il Meneghello, the left from 2016, or which I purchased in 2016. Again, the dating of the more recent Il Meneghello, a reproduction of the Visconti Sforza, is a little problematic, at least for me at the moment. And so it is a lot warmer, and the color is a lot stronger, more saturated in the Il Meneghello on the right. Newer edition, cardstock's thicker, And as was discussed in my previous video, it's warmer on the edges as well, with a lot more cream or orangey reddish here, and over here the hue is a lot colder grayish on the sides there. And Patrick indicated that the newer edition of Il Meneghello is also cut slightly smaller, and so I am going to compare that. There it is. Compare that with the Monumenta Longobardica. Now, my current working theory is that Il Meneghello's earlier edition are in fact produced by the same printer as one who produced this one here, which is the Monumenta Longobardica's edition. So my theory is that older edition of Visconti Sforza by Il Meneghello are in fact the same cardstock as Monumenta Longobardica circa 1970s. Hold on a second. There is also a comment about the gold. Now I'm going to try to, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Now Patrick feels I have not cited the original as they are in the museum. That would be a privilege indeed, but he felt that the current edition by Il Meneghello perhaps is closer to the reality of how the cards are currently in its current condition in 2018, 2017, in the 21st century. However, in terms of putting that aside for now, in particular, other than the warmer hue of the Il Meneghello current, more recent edition on the right, the gold, there is much commenting about the gold. There's a different qualitatively, the sheen of the gold slightly different. I can't quite explain how it is, but I'll let you judge this for yourself. I do apologize if you can hear the fly there. Hold on a second. I just don't know how to keep fresh air flowing through the house in such horrid, humid and hot summer without letting all the flies in, and try to kill them without killing also bees and butterflies and all those friendly creatures who help pollinate our trees and flowers and fruit and tomatoes and such. So there's a warmer glow to the vintage 74 Monumenta Longobardica, or shall I say the Grafica Gutenberg's printing from the 70s, which I suspect is the same printer that Il Meneghello obtained their Visconti Sforza facsimile edition in the 90s. I could be wrong. So in this instance, the gold on the Il Meneghello more recent edition is more yellow and more bronze and more antiqued or more patinaed looking, with the Monumenta Longobardica 74 edition here on the left by Grafica Gutenberg. Now remember again, I have mentioned the difference in age between the two are approximately, what is it? It's over 40 years of age difference between the two. And so, although it is unlikely, we must consider the passage of time. I don't think 40 years is long enough for pigments on modern printing, such as these, even though this one is from the 70s, I am not familiar with printing processes in the 70s versus the one from, say, the 21st century, 40 years on, but I do not believe color would deteriorated as much, but there is that passage of time to consider when comparing the two, because they're close to half a century difference in production time. So again, it's the gold, other than the more warm hue and undertone of the Il Meneghello. The gold, interestingly, seems warmer on the Monumenta Longobardica. The renovation noises have started again. I've spoken about the cardstock in my other videos, so I'm not going to mention that. I apologize, I just haven't had the chance to put this in order, but it should be easy enough to search if you just bear with me. Now I have two editions of the Monumenta Longobardica. Again, I will talk about that in a separate video. I'm particularly fascinated by how the gold come across. They're both quite lovely and muted gold, which I feel is the best. I'm not quite sure how, I suppose I should say I like it the most because it best suited my idea of what the gold must have been like in its current condition in the museum, but the reality of it could be that the gold is much brighter than this. I really don't know. Any of you who have the good fortune and the blessing to be able to see the original, if you could comment, that would be ever so awesome. My camera is ever so basic, so basic. I wish I can justify investing a bit more money on a better camera, but I can't, not at this point. So if you could bear with me, everybody. The reason why I do a close-up is because the most, other than the warmth of the Il Meneghello current edition, it is the translation of the gold that seems to be more that's the most different between the two. So I want you to have a look at what I would like you to be able to see. I'm not quite sure if I am successful in my attempt there, but I will continue to try throughout this video. And it's very, very hard to capture the gold sheen, especially when it's subtle like this. It's very, very hard. I think you get the idea. I probably won't continue. What I would like to point out really quickly is what Patrick pointed out to me, which is the Lover's card. So we're going to look for the Lover's card and compare. So that is the Lover's card from the current Il Meneghello edition, circa 2016, give or take a few years or so. And this is the 1974 Monumenta Longobardica Grafica Gutenberg printing. I would love to know where Il Meneghello print their current edition. Their copyright still state 1996, so I'm wondering if that's the right granted to them by the museum to reproduce these images. Unfortunately, with the newer edition, Patrick have informed me that the newer edition of the Visconti Sforza by Il Meneghello has a booklet that's written by Cristina Dorsini, and it's much shorter than the older edition, written, I'm not quite sure by whom. I'm just a little unsettled by the fact that there is no information on edition other than copyright 96 with the newer printing, with the newer batch of the Visconti Sforza that's produced later in the century, like more recently, because I think it's really, really important for us to know. So that's the main difference are these two. So that's the older version, or should I say the Grafica Gutenberg's printing, in this case published by Monumenta Longobardica 74, and it seems like the older 96 edition of Il Meneghello's Visconti Sforza is like that as well, and this is the newer edition by Il Meneghello of the Visconti Sforza facsimile. So that's it, and very quickly, the Devil and the Tower card. I will talk about this further in a separate video about the Monumenta Longobardica. This is by this particular artist, I can't remember his name, but I'll put that link below. And similarly, Il Meneghello, no, I lie. Il Meneghello's edition is this. So the Monumenta Longobardica's early 1970s edition has the Devil card as painted by somebody so. And again, I'll put more information about who the artists are for each of these down below. And that's the Tower card. Okay, that's it guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.